Oh, Star Wars fans, they did it again. Absolutely ridiculous, unbelievable, soul-crushing news as Damon Lindlelof and his writing partner have exited the Star Wars movie that Lucasfilm has been building around them for at least a year now, the one that they want to push forward to 2025. It's insane news. So in this video, I want to break down what actually happened, what Lucasfilm is going to do now, and why I think it's horrible, and why I think they should do something really crazy to kind of get the jolt, get the energy back into Star Wars, because it is at the lowest point it's been ever. This is horrible news. By the way, just want to say, this is the second of two videos I did today. I did a video about Victoria Alonso leaving Marvel Studios and the craziness of that for Marvel and the industry as a whole. I'm going to do this big video about the Star Wars movie. Not a ton of crazy editing on either one of these videos because the news is just so important. I think I just need to get it out there for you guys and clarify it. So smash a like on the video if you like it. And we've got some other, other edited videos coming out soon. Okay, so what the flip is happening? This came out via Jeff Snyder's Above the Line newsletter last night, like damn near at midnight. I had gotten off Nerd Theory. I was just chilling, hanging out, actually playing some Dead Drop, which I thought it's an awesome game. I'm actually having a lot of fun with Dead Drop. And then I see this mind-blowing news. Damon Lindlelof, the main writer of Lost, the guy behind that new Watchmen HBO show that came out a couple of years ago, very, very brilliant writer, has exited the Star Wars movie that they were building around him. And if you hadn't been paying attention to a lot of the rumors, to what's going on out there in Star Wars land, Lucasfilm has obviously been in need of a Star Wars movie for a long, long time. And they've had, I think, 7, this one will make 8 different movies fall apart since the rise of Skywalker, or I guess maybe since the tenure of Kathleen Kennedy. Either way, they have a lot of trouble getting people to actually do a movie. In fact, there's a really interesting Reddit thread that just popped up yesterday giving us the timeline of this whole story about the Lindlelof Star Wars movie. In March of 2022, Jeff Snyder first scooped that Damon Lindlelof is writing a Star Wars film. In May of 2022, in an interview with Empire, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy states that they are looking to explore the post-sequel trilogy era in upcoming films. We're moving further beyond the existence of the sequels, she says, as we look to our movie space. The sequels era is what we talk a lot about in terms of where we're going with our movies and just how far out we'll go from that. It's very much the space we're concentrating on. I remember around that time, I also heard that not just the Lindlelof movie in 2025, but all the next Star Wars movies were going to be in a post-sequel trilogy era. Then in July of 2022, The Hollywood Reporter talked about a writer's room being assembled that included Dave Filoni for a Star Wars movie. Around that same time, Lucasfilm filed trademarks for the Great Circle, the Galactic Circle, and the Circle of Resistance. These were likely some of the name ideas that they had for this film. Then, several months later, in October of 2022, The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline confirmed that the Lindlelof film is happening and that Justin Britt Gibson would be co-writing. They also revealed that Sharmeen Obaid-Chino, who is the Miss Marvel director, would be directing the film. Now, The Hollywood Reporter added into their article that the events of the film would be set after the sequel trilogy, and it could also feature some of its characters. Then in January of this year, you have Jeff Snyder essentially saying the movie's going to come out in 2025. There's going to be 2 leads in the film. One's going to be a male person of color. One's going to be a female person of color. Then in March of 2023, Variety confirms that Rogue Squadron and the Kevin Feige Star Wars movie are over, but the Lindlelof film is still in development. A little bit after that, Jeff Snyder claimed that the talent has already signed on and that the script is complete and that the film is 100% releasing in 2025. So that takes us to yesterday when it was reported that Lindlelof and his writing partner have walked away from the project. In the article that Jeff Snyder wrote, what he said was that the pair turned in a draft of the script in mid-February and less than 4 days later decided to leave the project entirely. And what's really interesting about that is last Sunday, there were comments made by Damon Lindlelof throwing some doubt and question on whether or not he'd actually be writing this thing. He said this to Slash Film at South by Southwest: "I will just say that for reasons I can't get into on this Sunday morning, on this day, the degree of difficulty is extremely, extremely, extremely high. If it can't be great, it shouldn't exist. That's all I'll say, because I have the same association with it as you do, which is it's the first movie I saw sitting in my dad's lab, 4 years old, May of 77. I think it's possible that sometimes when you hold something in such high reverence and esteem, you start to get in the kitchen and you just go, maybe I shouldn't be cooking. Maybe I should just be eating. We'll just leave it at that. And now we know, according to the new timeline, that he was already done with the project when he answered that on Sunday. So what does it mean that 4 days after turning in a script, they walk away? Well, essentially, this to me feels like they got notes from the studio. Okay, something that you've heard a lot over the past couple of months and into last year, talking about DC and some of the craziness going on there with Patty Jenkins walking away, et cetera, et cetera. So it seems like what happened was there was a writer's room. Lindlelof and his partner go to work on this script. They write it. They are passionate about what it is. They turn it in, and then they get some notes from the studio that probably just made them want to throw their hands up and walk away from the project. And although we don't know this for sure, this seems like what happens with Lucasfilm. This is likely why many of the Star Wars movies have fallen apart, because she has notes and ideas about what Star Wars is and sort of squashes and limits the creative bandwidth and the vision that these different people have. Now, I should say, according to the report, they already have another writer and they're pushing ahead on this movie, right? So they are essentially doing a movie in 2025 that they assembled a writer's room for last year around October. They lost the two main writers they were building the entire project around, hired a new writer, are pushing ahead, and are still going to announce it at Star Wars Celebration. And it really does seem like the attitude from Lucasfilm is, we're releasing this movie in 2025 no matter what. And here's why that sucks. Because that is the same stupid goobly glob corporate mandated date bullshit that got them into the issues they are in currently. With the sequel trilogy, J.J. Abrams and Kasdan go there. There's those famous shots of them rewriting the script, the red script, on the set of The Force Awakens, because Michael Arndt was like, we're not ready. We need to take our time. We need years to develop this story. And they were like, no, thank you, Michael. We need cash and we need it now. So they forced that. I also am just so frustrated, guys, that Disney and Lucasfilm take a 3-year hiatus to figure out the movie stuff, and they end up just losing project after project after project, and then getting to a point where they're like, well, we're going to just force this movie out in the regularly scheduled corporate pipeline that got us into all this mess. We're going to build this around Damon Lindlelof and yet not be able to hold on to him as talent. And the studio just seems fine with it. They're going to act like this never happened, and they're just going to get on stage in Celebration in 2 weeks. Guys, Celebration is in 2 weeks. This was going to be when they finally talk about the movies. They've had all this time, and this is going to be when they finally talk about the movies, and now they're going to announce this. Now I guess it's just the Miss Marvel director's Star Wars movie, depending on who the writer is. I don't know if they're going to be able to get a name like Lindlelof, a brand like Lindlelof that really would have created its own interest. So I just don't know, man. I'll tell you this right now. I think they should cancel this movie. I think Bob Iger should go in and fire Kathleen Kennedy today. And I think the solution here, and maybe one of the only things that Lucasfilm could do to really like get that spark back in for Star Wars, is to give Dave Filoni episodes 10, 11, and 12. Just give him, like, announce it like at Celebration, or announce it this year. Let him, after Ahsoka, go write it, go figure out what the story will be, start building it. You can release it in 2026, 2027. If you literally just say, hey guys, we've been trying all this crazy stuff with Star Wars movie. It's not working. So we're going to kind of do something pretty wild. We're going to do a whole new trilogy, episodes 10, 11, and 12, written and directed by Dave Filoni, just like George was, the writer director of most of the old Star Wars movies. We're going to let Dave fully and completely have the future of Star Wars movies. That would be massive. Of course, doing something with John and Dave via the Mando stuff in a movie would also be cool. But I think at this point, Star Wars needs to just have like some really new like hope, some new ideas, some freshness. We need to get out of this cycle of constantly losing directors, all this negative press, bad headlines, less numbers on The Mandalorian. We need to break out of that. And I think a trilogy written and directed by Dave Filoni is the way. It's insane news. We will see what happens. They're still moving ahead with this sequel movie. I think it's crazy. I think this is one of the biggest L's Lucasfilm has taken in a long time. What are your thoughts about this? Smash a like on this video if you enjoyed getting informed. And if you want to watch more, why not check out this video I recently did going in depth on what's actually wrong with the MCU and how they can fix it.